Top of the morning to you, and welcome to Thursday's edition of the program Morning Ride. Today being the blessed day of May 15th, day precisely of May 2025. My name is Francis Ofurue, saying welcome on behalf of the board, management, and staff of this broadcasting station. Also with me this morning is a very delectable person, one who is eloquent and ready to do business on breakfast show this morning. She's no one else but Perpetua Ipoba. It's good to have you, Perpetua. Good morning to you. How you doing?
Good morning, Francis.
I am doing good too. I'll take that answer personally as well. I'm doing good well myself. Now, one thing that we always have to think about is our safety. And today is a very powerful day. Just this morning, I found out that it's National Safety Drug Day.
National Safety Dose Day.
National Safety Dose Day.
Yeah.
A very powerful day to check how we take our drugs. How quick are you to take those medications? How quick are you to pop those pills in different times? How do you cope with them? Do you get a doctor to tell you exactly what to take? Or are you an abuser rather than a user? That's what this day is all about. National Safety Dose Day.
Okay. It also focuses on the importance of seeking doctor's prescription when taking our medication. It's quite unfortunate that we self-diagnose a lot in our society today. When we are down with probably headache, or we have pain on one side of our head, or we feel a kind of way, we feel feverish, we start seeing sores on our mouth, we just diagnose it immediately, and then we go to the pharmacy, we get drugs, and we start taking, rather than us going to pharmacies rather going to hospitals to first run tests, bearing it at the back of our mind that we may be right about our diagnosis, but there could be something underneath the diagnosis that is even worse than what we are even seeing. So it's quite unfortunate that we found ourselves in a society that we self-diagnose a lot. I don't know if we are ever going to stop. I don't know if we are ever going to repent from that anomaly. But today is pointing to the fact that whatever you do, seek the help of a medical practitioner, most especially when you're sick, when you're having those symptoms. It's important that you don't self-diagnose. Rather, what do? You go for tests. And when the test result comes, do not interpret it yourself. You are not a medical person, no matter how vast you are, or maybe you have someone who is a medical person with you. Give it to that person. Do not interpret it on your own. Give it to that person. The person has consultations with you, or you have consultations with the medical practitioners rather, and then you take it up from there. But whatever you do, it is important that you don't self-diagnose, and then after you must have been given the treatment, or rather the medications to start with, don't say, I don't think it's good, I'm going to reduce the dosage on my own, or I think I'm reacting to it too much, I'm going to increase the dosage on my own. Whatever you do, if you feel it's having a negative reaction, you should call your health practitioner to say, this is what I'm experiencing with this drug you've given me. I remember sometime when I was sick, years ago, there was one of the drugs that was reacting to my body. I had to go back there and tell them, this is the particular drug. Anytime I take this drug, this is what I experience. What do I do? And then I was given the right steps to take, and then everything went well. So no matter what happens, even if you're not feeling cool with the drugs they were giving you, maybe because of your body type, maybe you are allergic and they didn't know, or you didn't tell them, it's important that you still go back to them to tell them, this is what I'm experiencing, and then they'll take it up from there.
Very solid. Go see a doctor and ensure that you do that. I think that in this part of the world, we devil with policies that do not help us necessarily. In the Western world, UK precisely, it's hard for you to chase a drug without a doctor's, I would just say a doctor's permit. You'll need a doctor to prescribe those drugs for you before you can go get them. Any kind of drug at all. That's why you find some Nigerians with relatives abroad, when they have to travel, or they carry as much drugs as they can in the country, just that they can give it to their loved ones in the UK, outside Nigeria. Now, basically, that's because you can't just get any drug right there. Even to our ointments and balms, you don't just go to a pharmacy rather, to get a drug in the UK. You need to get a doctor's prescription. So I think the policy in Nigeria is part of the flaw that we have because people just go to a hospital, rather go to a chemist or a pharmacy, ask for drugs, painkillers, and the rest, and they're given easily. I know it brings some kind of comfort because I've had conversations with many friends and loved ones outside Nigeria who has complained bitterly about how difficult it is to just purchase little, in quotes, little drugs. But drugs are more or less poison that destroys other poison. They are dangerous if you keep taking them. So some doctors try to limit how much you indulge in taking drugs. Generally, they're not good for your kidney, they're not good for your liver, they don't help you generally. But it's just a necessity to fight a bigger problem. Now, every time you even have a headache, one of the most abused drugs in Nigeria are painkillers. People just indulge in painkillers. And they do that so quickly that, they don't try to even take water, try to get some rest. Let it be known that the headache you feel is just sometimes necessarily an indicator to a bigger problem or another issue that should be handled. When you have a headache and the first thing you resort to is taking painkiller, whether it's Panadol, paracetamol, what have you, different names of these drugs, be concerned that you're not taking what is prescribed by a doctor. And if you continue taking that, it's dangerous to you because what it might do, it just might make you asymptomatic to the problem you might be encountering. And that's one issue that is strong enough for us to be concerned about. Another issue that we have about national safety dose, as it is that people take without being concerned about the quantity of what they take. Before I go into the other one, let's talk about the conventional white medicine, as people call it. People can just on their own go to the hospital, go to the chemist, get drugs for malaria. They just, first of all, they even go run tests. They go to a pharmacy that can run tests, find out they have malaria, and they get the drug, get the sachet and finish it up. Sometimes they don't even finish the sachet up. So they don't know the exact quantity to take to handle whatever they're trying to treat. If a doctor even gives them medication, many patients do not finish the medication as prescribed by the doctor. What they do is that as soon as they feel pale and hearty, they drop whatever is left of the drug and keep on moving. And it somehow affects your antibodies, it somehow affects the entire system, and it gives the parasites, with malaria for instance, more effrontery to attack and more strategy to win when the warfare is going on with your antibodies. So it's not the right thing. Take your drugs appropriately. Now to herbal. Once upon a time on this set, whether on a Friday or Thursday, I had the privilege of hearing from a doctor who explained that herbal drugs should have dosage. And that's the biggest challenge with herbal medicine. Many of us will go to get our agbo, this and that. We're quick to get them without understanding first that these drugs or these herbs need to have a dose. And that's why many conventional doctors, they don't like the idea of herbal drugs because they say, first question they ask is, who is telling you the dosage of what to take? Who is telling you the dosage that you need? So people just keep on gulping and gulping and gulping to a point of self-destruction. Then for men and women, enhancers have become a new thing. And recently, I remember that the NAFDAC chair had to even speak about it. How people that indulge in enhancers just to be effective, according to the words of the phrase of our former president, in the other room. People have chosen to go into that life without caring whether a doctor tells you this is good for you to take or not. Whether you're a man or a woman, whatever you need to have that stimulation, most times if you don't get it the way it should be, it's again an indicator that something else could be wrong with your entire system. It could be too much fat in the blood. It could be a heart-related problem. It could be stress. All you need to do first is see a doctor, and this is going to men who might quickly just go pop some pills or take some herbs every time to get the necessary stimulation to indulge or to engage in activities that helps in procreation, if you understand what I mean. Now, basically, you don't need those drugs if you don't have a doctor. Sometimes when you meet a doctor and you're hoping the doctor gives you all these drugs that could help enhance or stimulate or help you achieve the desired result that you need to use for penetration and the rest of them, be aware that a doctor, sometimes the doctor just tells you, okay, you need to check this other thing. You have this challenge, you have a heart problem. So while you're facing that challenge and you think that it's the end of the world, you cannot perform in the other room, be aware that that would have been your saving grace to realize that you have probably a heart issue or a blood issue, or you're having high blood pressure, things that could affect you. So men, be aware. Do not be quick to take these drugs. Remember, if you keep taking them, you get addicted to them, and so your system needs them before it can perform what it should have done naturally. Now it has to be instigated by medication, not even prescribed by a doctor. That becomes an addiction, that becomes a problem. Then in the long run, it affects your liver, it affects your kidney, it affects your entire system, which is dangerous and a no-no. It's not good for you, it's not good for anyone at all. So let's ensure that today we take a stand in being safe about the dosage that we gulp. I say gulp because if you're not getting a doctor to tell you what to take, you're just literally gulping them like it's like our stable food ever. You're just taking them that way, and it's not right. So drug is not food. Other times we can learn to eat right, exercise properly, lead a healthy life. That way we can curtail how we need to depend on drugs. Remember that most times what we call ailments are consequences of our unhealthy lifestyle. Whether it's how we don't exercise, or how we don't eat properly, we eat either too less or too much. If it's not balanced in a way that can help your system, you might be compelled to resort to drugs. So today is quite a big day. The title of the celebration is not plastered in my head yet, but I understand the drift of it. National Safety Dose Day, right? And so it's just important that we pay attention to ourselves and begin to maximize how we play safe when it comes to the usage of drugs. Drugs are good, but when not taken well, they become poison. That's the very strong advice I've got this morning. Also this morning, when we do paper review, there's a story that is trending absolutely well all around the country, and the story is even linked to God. Man proposes, God disposes. That was the way the jam boss had to describe it recently. How we came here on this set just last week, and several days back, even on Morning Ride, we have blasted young children for not doing so well during the recently conducted UTME examination. We have blasted the children, we have called them names. In short, just yesterday, on the papers, one young girl committed suicide because of low jam score. Mind you that the result that came out April 19 showed that 1.9 million people sat for the examination, and 1.5 million out of those 1.9 million people could not score up to or above 200. That was a big problem, and just about 0.4 scored 300 and above. That was what the jam results said, and everywhere has gone haywire. We're all angry, we've been blasting. I have been disappointed and hurt for the generation right now. You've blamed it on their lackadaisical attitude, you've blamed it on their unseriousness, you've blamed it on even gadgets and AI, but we've not blamed jam enough. Well, recently, some certain personalities had to go take the matter to court. They had to call two lawyers. I think that was Wokobia and another lawyer, another chambers, to go handle that issue. And what came out just yesterday, JAM itself came to apologize to Nigerians, appreciating those who might have been fighting over the result and reacting over the result and trying to take a stand over the result, saying that they appreciate them for not being indifferent about the whole thing, and saying that everything, the result had many centers that suffered glitches. As a result, we had many children scoring low marks. So now they are going to redo the examination for these affected centers. There are hundreds of centers that was affected by this glitch, in quote. And I find it funny because children are going to go back to write examination. They're going to go back through the same trauma of reading again. Let's not complain about reading. So it's always okay to read. But they're also going to go through the same trauma of trying to access the examination centers. And they're also going to go through some trauma of rewriting this examination that hurts them in the first place. And they would spend money. They would spend money to access that examination center. Jam.
It's a whole lot. The exam tension and, like Francis said, transport and everything. But particularly my heart goes out to the family of the girl who committed suicide yesterday. I was kind of broken when I saw it, but then it is a pointer to a whole lot of things when it comes to parenting. Do you really listen to your child? There are lots of indicators for that child to, look at poison as the option of last resort. Heaven knows the kind of pressure probably she must have faced from her parents, the kind of pressure she must have probably faced from her guardians, those around her. Maybe that was the jam that, you know, she studied hardest for, and she told herself, I think I'm going to get into school with this jam score I'm going to get from this examination. So my heart goes out to them, but it's a good thing that the matter was well investigated, because on a second thought, if that matter was not properly investigated, then we would still be hinging on the fact that students did not read for this year's JAMB examination. But it's a beautiful thing that it was well investigated, and Professor Ishak himself came out and then he tendered an apology. Well, while some people see the apology as staged, as a pretext and all of that, I want to think of it as one coming from a father. It's better late than never, and I'm happy that, you know, all of these came out, you know, to the light, and I'm happy that at least students will have another chance at proving themselves. That's just my take.
All right, and I think you had it all words of marble, really. Children have the chance to retake. I'm seeing on the papers 379,997 candidates to retake the examination. That means, though, that still a large number failed. Let's get it right. Because we're talking about 1.5 million people who scored below 200, who did not score above 200, and now 379,997 candidates are to retake the examination. Those are the centers.
The glitch affected actually 5 states, Francis, which is Imo, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, Abia, and then left every other state and then went to affect Lagos. So these 6 states were largely affected.
Yeah, so this number, though, if you do your maths, you'll see that over 1.5 million people who did score above 200, it means that still a large percentage didn't score properly.
So
regardless.
there was still a massive
there was still massive failure regardless. But it just shows that JAM on its own, they don't do a very good job. And yes, I appreciate that once in our lifetime, we're seeing a body in Nigeria coming to apologize and, you know, take the blame, take the bullet. That was, many of us still look at it skeptically from the angle that, yeah, they knew they were going to court. They knew they were lawyers were already involved in the matter. And so they had to clean their house ahead of time. Remember, they were supposed to do this recheck of the examination during the month of June, but they had to bring it, fast track it to May, just to ensure that their house was in order, and they found out the glitches. It still means that, you know, if you want to look at it hypothetically, that there might also be glitches elsewhere if more investigations are done.
Especially when it comes to underage children, they allowed them to write, but most of them, their results were not released, and most parents were actually going haywire. If you know that my child's result will not be released, why did you allow my child to write in the first place?
So there are lots of these issues. JAM has to fix their house, you know, so much, because this invalidates the entire examination. You know, injury to what is injury to all. So if you say that over 379,000 people would have to retake examination due to glitches, that means that the examination on its own was not the most proficient examination. It didn't bring out the best in terms of the technicalities. And now people have been clamoring to return to the analog method of examination as far as this is concerned. We don't know what's the best move, actually. Should I return to the analog? Should I stick to digital and continue doing this style, the CBT centers thing? We don't really know. But JAM has got to put his house in order. And I want to say this again, because yesterday, the suicide story, as you brought it up, and I think I should hammer on it a little bit. The story of suicide over failed JAM examination is appalling. It's a very sad situation. It's an indicator that we have not embraced failure as a path to success. Children need to understand that failure is part of the process. And that's why research has even shown that many bright children, many flyers in school, many of those children who were high flyers in school, having their A's and their 70s and their 80s, they most times turn out to become the employees and not the employers of labor. They are rarely ever entrepreneurs. And that's simply because entrepreneurs, they kind of mastered the art of failing and strategizing it to do better. So they see failure as a stepping stone, a means to learn, and a point to forge on. Children should be taught this from the cradle. A story went viral from Japan or one Asian country, either China or Japan, of a wonderful letter written by the school authorities to parents, admonishing parents to understand that examination is not a do or die affair, but a point for the children to assess themselves and know how they are faring and learn to be better. Their failure is a point of success. We need to understand that. So it's not just parents who make mockery of children who don't do better. Even children laugh at each other. It's quite sad. I wish I could take time back and tell some of my friends who used to laugh at the so-called dull children in secondary school that they were wrong in the first place. Many of those, in quote, dull children turned out to become the richest currently, are doing so well. And many of these high-flying students turned out to become employees in different establishments because first they've been studying just to be safe, and they are struggling to play safe. So they go into a company, they put on their suit, they put on their jacket, they know how to conform. But you see, most of these children who don't do well in quote know how to perform. They just want to do things, get it right. When they fail, they re-strategize. And some of them even do better in higher institutions because they have learned the art of studying before they are approved. But those ones who have high IQ in quote do not do that. They just know that things come easily. So when we fail in examinations, it's a point to re-strategize rather than a point of crying. So it's quite sad that the girl had to commit suicide over failed JAM examination. And I know there are many children who might even be considering indulging in that. So parents, this is time to be a therapist. Talk to your children. And this is not